So I done got the compressor back on there now. Now we just got 2 more lines to hook up.
Oh, I can't.
This line right here, and then my hose right here, and we're gonna test this sucker out. All right, so we had to get the wheel off to get this situation together, but we got the compressor back on. We have it working. We got it to fire up, and you know, I had a little help from my bros. They didn't want to be filmed at the time. They're like, man, put that camera down and get some work done. They was teasing me about this here Pelly. They said, oh, you working in some nice shirts, huh? They all thought it was new. It's 10 years new. But anyway, this is the compressor. You got a 10mm hose right there. You got these here. Be very careful as to the way you put those back in. And this clamp right here will give you the flux if you don't get it right. But we got it on there. You need some needle nose pliers to make that happen. So do what you got to do. You can do it yourself too. Red Wheels DIY. So we're going to put the wheel back on and we're going to get it going on. Hopefully this here compressor works. And it'll rise up. It won't be lame. It'll rise up. I'm having confidence that this car is going to rise.
Yeah, that's why I put the color in it.
Yeah.
You see it now.
So where is that coming from?
That's the hose that goes through
the back of the pump. Okay, so I'm leaking at the back of the pump. So what is this? My alternator right here?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
No, that's not your alternator. That's your AC.
AC unit.
This is your AC right here.
Right.
That's your power steering right on top.
Okay, so let's see.
Return hose right there.
Yeah.
On the back of the pump.
You see where it's dripping right there? Yeah.
They get the red fluid in it.
Yeah. So that's the hose that's going right there. Yeah. So we're leaking at that hose. That might be a little bit difficult to do. But nonetheless, we've diagnosed these here problems. And we're gonna go ahead and slap this wheel back on and see if this air ride system rises. It's gonna rise. I ain't get this dirty in a brand new shirt for nothing. It's gonna rise, right? Have faith. Do it yourself. All right.
About to test it out.
Yeah.
Test 1, test 2.
You gotta talk, man.
I'm waiting. I'm letting the car talk.
Jag man in there. That's a Jaguar man.
Got an air.
2007 Jaguar XJ compressor removal. First of all, we're going to come over here to this here side of the vehicle and we're going to take off all of the innards right here because this is where the compressor is located. Now, as you can see, I've already taken this here compressor off and done the job, but I'm just going to go through the rudimentary steps of what it takes to do this job. If you have a lifting system, get the car high up in the air so that you can have freedom to work. Isn't she a beauty? Make sure your safety lock is on and lowered so that there's no issues with the vehicle coming down on you. All right, so now we're gonna come over here into this area. Now, as you can see, the lower valance has been taken off. It just has a bunch of screws here that you take off, and then I took the inner wheel weld off also. You can push this wheel inside and out. It rotates pretty easily. All right, now here's the compressor right here. You have a connector here that needs to be disconnected. You have an electrical connector right here that needs to be disconnected. And you have this here 10mm air line right here. Can you turn some light on for you? There we go. And you have this here 10mm air line right here. Take that off first. Let that be the first thing you do after you disconnect this here electrical connection. So this is a simple disconnect. You just use the quick fittings and it comes apart that way. The same here, does the same thing. Like I said, I've already done this job, so I'm just going through the motions for you. All right, so we're gonna put that back together because we have a working compressor now. Now here you have a 10mm bolt here, a 10mm bolt here, and you will need to get to this one, it's a 10mm bolt also. On top, you have this here clamp line that needs to be disconnected. So you just take some tongs or a clamp remover and utilize your tools to take that apart. Once you have all those things disconnected, you'll start the process of disconnecting these here bolts. Please pay attention to the orientation of these grommets and their spring. There's a spring, washer, spring, grommet, and then another washer on the top. What you can do to keep these from falling down is put some grease up there, and it'll help you keep that secure when you're trying to put it back together. Also, pay attention to the orientation. Pay attention to the orientation. All right, let me get up in there a little bit better. Pay attention to the orientation. So, you see how those bolts are in there, how it's nice and tight? Basically, it gives you a little bit of bounce so that the compressor is nice and in place. All right, you're gonna have to maneuver over this here light if you have a 2004 to 2007 model. Be careful not to let the compressor drop down and break this light. So pretty much that is the process that you're gonna have to go through, and putting it on is just doing everything in reverse. So with that being said, let me show you over here. Be sure to get yourself plenty of fuses. You may need a 40 amp fuse to replace. I had 4 40 amp fuses that kept blowing once I got it replaced after I was testing the relays. So get yourself some information from jaguarforums.com. They're a real great source of information. Here we have these here check valves that have to be taken off once you get your new compressor. To remove them, you press down on these and pull the thing out. You're gonna have to take off your electrical connectors and your air hose connectors, which go there, and that should be that. So we have other videos that go a little bit more in depth and detail that gives an explanation of all those things, but while I was here, I was on the mission to get the job done, and honestly I deleted the first video, so that's why I'm just giving a quick recap. But for the most part, that's where your air compressor is. It's fairly easy to do. It's right up front. What are the symptoms of a bad air compressor? When your car is at a low level riding and you don't hear the compressor kick in when you first start the car, you know that most likely it's your compressor. When your relays are testing good, your fuses and everything else is testing good, and pretty much you've eliminated everything else, you know, you can pump the system up with air. And let me point something else out to you while I have you in my ear, because what'd you say?
Make sure I'm doing the right connector down.
Oh yeah, so that's that's the release. Is it hard?
Yeah.
All right, so what you have to do is let it up first, right here.
With this?
Yeah, right here. Push it up. That's enough. So you hit the link. Now you got to push it up a little bit more. All right, now pull that down.
Pull it down?
Yep, pull it down, all the way down. Now you release it here. No, down. Yep.
Okay. You got to take it up until you it latch and then pull it.
Right, because when you get it up in the air, you let it down with this to let it on the safety link. So this is my buddy's Jaguar XJ. It's a beauty, as you can see. We're gonna get this one up and on the move. It's got brand new meat, lovely interior. And pretty much we both jagging off in this bitch. Huh? To lift it back up, you hit the black button.
I'm talking like,
No, you just,
it's all right.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I put some lock it in that position.
No, as long as it's down lower, it's already in a safe position. So, well, that pretty much wraps up. Oh, I was gonna show y'all a thing not to do, because this is what I did and I messed up. Let me show y'all what not to do. While I have it up in the air, another way to test to see whether or not the compressor is gonna come on is to have your car lifted up in the air off of this end to check to see if the leveling sensors are working. Matter of fact, how about we start her up so I can give you a demonstration. Looks like I'm gonna have to do that a little bit later. I left the keys. I got the wrong set of keys. But back to the main point of why I came up here. Now here we have what's called an air strut. Be careful disconnecting this here strut, because there's another piece that hooks up right here. And I don't know if you can see that clearly. Yeah, right there, it's brass. If you're not careful, you'll break the fitting off into the vehicle like I did. So right now, I'm waiting to fix that part right there. I actually ordered a another one of these from ASUS. What I'm referring to is this part right here. This is the air line, and it screws into this part, but this here part right here screws into the actual strut tower. And I repeat, you cannot go to the dealership and get that part. They will not sell it to you separately. And most of the companies that are on eBay are all over in Germany. It would have taken almost 2-3 weeks to get it. Some of them told me a month and a half on Amazon, almost 2 months on Amazon. And of course, I can't wait that long. I can't have this lift coming up. So I did find a company called ASUS, Aerozus. I'll hit the link in the description downtown. Matter of fact, I'll put it in this here video. They gave me the link and they gave me the part for $46, and it'll be here in 3 days. So hopefully we'll be done with the air ride system and have everything up and running in 2 to 3 business days. So I'm counting on that. Everything else is checking out. When I got her up in the air, the compressor did not kick on. So that's telling me that all of the air sensors, air ride sensors are working. As soon as I lowered it all the way down and they got the air fault system, the air compressor kicked back in. For those of you who are wondering where the air compressor relay is, this is the air compressor relay right here in the #1 position. For those of you who are wondering where the fuse for the relay is, it's this one right here. Right now I have a 30 amp fuse in there, but it's the 40 amp fuse. I did this one just for testing. So as you can see, I kept blowing all my 40 amp fuses, and those are far and few in between at the junkyard, and I got plenty of 30s and everything else. So let that be a lesson to you right there. Go to the junkyard, get all the fuses that you want. Nonetheless, we ain't ever got to worry about buying fuses again. We got everything, relays, the whole 9 yards. So if you guys have any questions about this here build, you guys can inbox me or send me messages on the difficulty level. I'd say it was about a good, the hardest part was mating those screws back up, holding my arm up in the air. But eventually I got it. It took me about an hour to do it. Honestly, it should have been about 30 minutes, but when you're doing it one-handed and DIY, it takes a little bit longer. Also, I did fix that power steering leak. I got a makeshift hose right there that I used. Matter of fact, let's turn it back up and look at it. Employee locker room looking like it don't even get used no more. So as you can see, I got a little bit of a oil leakage down here that I'm getting ready to get taken care of. Initially, it was the power steering fluid, and I'll point out to you where it was leaking here. As you can see now, it's dry. Right there where my light is, see that rubber hose? Yeah, that hose right there with the clamp, that's your power steering line. They wanted $189 for that hose. What I did is I found a hose that was similar to it, similar to the shape, and I found the L bracket that fit that criteria, and I used it. I got it off of a spare part that we had laying around. So I found a hose that had this 90-degree bend in it, and that's exactly what I used. This is what the original hose looks like. And let me show you where it broke at, where it got defective. That's where it was leaking. Look at that hole. That's not a little leak. That's a big leak. So over time, it got real hard and brittle versus how this here is kind of still soft and pliable. This is hard. This is really hard. So let me take a look at that and see exactly where we're leaking at now. Yep, I got a little bit of an oil leak coming from right here. So I'm going to replace the oil pan gasket. You see that? And I'm going to replace the transmission pan gasket also right here. So once I get those things done, this beast will be clean and ready to go. So I guess that'll be the end of this here video. Looks to me like I got some aftermarket tie rod ends, but this here rack and pinion looks brand new. So I don't know if they had this replaced, but this definitely looks like it has not been on here long. So yeah, everything else looks dirty and dusty, and this just looks so clean and pristine. So there's the underside, and new oil drain plug, definitely. I'm wondering if when it got to riding low, did it kind of jar this, because I cleaned these bolts off. But nonetheless, we're going to put a new oil pan gasket on there. We're going to put some new bolts on there, because I do see that there's a little, it looks like a little bit of a dent right here. Maybe that's why I'm getting a little bit of a leak. So maybe I'll bend that out and hammer that down and put it back into shape. But with that being said, y'all, I'm about done with this video. So you all can have a great day. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Again, this is the installation of the compressor. Oh, by the way, I paid $100 for this compressor on eBay. Yes, $100 for this compressor on eBay. I'll show you the company, and we can go somewhere else to get our parts. You know, it was said that this car had been in an accident, but when I look at it, the only signs that I see of any accident is right here. And that doesn't look like an accident. That looks like something was pulled. So there's none of that over here on this side. Even though my light is broken over here, I'll replace that a little bit later. But for the most part, I think I got a really good buy when I decided to buy this car sight unseen. You know, I knew that it had an air ride suspension problem. I knew that it was leaking power steering fluid once I got there. I knew that it had a few issues, but I bought it sight unseen without lifting the car up in the air, without having a mechanic go over it. I just went on my hunch, and the hunch played out. It played out, and I do believe that Gio was telling me pretty much what he was telling me, you know, less a few things, you know, like I do have to replace the windshield and a couple of other little cosmetic things, you know, like the sunroof has a leak. So once I get those things fixed, I'll be getting her all cleaned up. I already have a power washer out and set, so gonna get a good cleaning on these here back seat. Also, I'll show you guys how to take this back seat out too. It was a little bit difficult. It's not that dirty, but you know, when you got kids back there, everything's everything. Yeah, so we in that place, we getting the BMW together. I can't wait to go drifting in this one. We getting the Lexus SC300 together. Let's take a look inside this one. That boy is a beast. I would redo this whole interior. I love the way this car looks. Told you, we up next, baby. Getting all these here whips together. You know, it's crazy when you have a dream car that you fantasized about as a kid, or that you saw someone else driving, you was like, man, I wish I had that car. We're living our dreams. It's always best to have ASE certified mechanics on your team. Remember that. So now what we're gonna do is take this down and see if we can get it set up to bench test. and we're gonna go from there. Y'all have a good day. It looks fairly new, honestly.
I guess this would be the.
That's the main power connector.
Oh,
yeah.
And this is probably just a pressure regulator.
Yep, that's the what do you call it? The regulator or sensor.
Yeah. Yep. That's probably all I would do.
Yep.
Go from there.
Go from there, get it tested, and see where we can go from there. All right.